Let's come back home and to a campaign to increase the penalties for motorists who open their car doors in the path of cyclists is moving up a gear.
Reporter Simon Lauder joins us from one of Melbourne's busiest bike routes along St Kilda Road. Simon.
Yes, hi Michael. I'm standing here at St Kilda Road. As you can see, the bike lane here is pretty much a white line on the road between where the cars park and the cars drive, and we've seen pretty much as many cyclists as motorists here this morning. And one of the hazards that cyclists face on a daily basis is people opening their car doors right in their path, and it can happen with very little warning. Now, Gary Brennan is from Bicycle Network Victoria. Gary, how big a problem is this? How often does it happen?
It's getting quite serious. In fact, we're now up to almost 2 doorings a week in Melbourne, so that's quite a serious problem.
And how serious is it when it happens? Has it happened to you?
Yes, it has happened to me, and it's serious because in nearly every case someone is injured in a dooring, unlike a typical bike crash. So the hospitals are filling up with people that are getting hit by car doors. In my case, I didn't have to be hospitalised. But the interesting thing is that how scared you are for months after when you drive down any street, because it can happen at any time and you get no warning.
Now, there are already fines in Victoria of up to $360. Why isn't that enough? Why do you say it should be more?
Well, most drivers are only getting the minimum fine, which is $122, and there's no lower fine. And for something as serious as this that causes injuries and, in recent times, deaths, we think the fine should be much higher so that it has a deterrent effect on drivers.
And there's also a call for demerit points for a driver when a car door is open in the path of a cyclist. Is that fair in the case where it might be a passenger who opens the door and not the driver?
No, I don't think it is fair. Frankly, about 10% of all the doorings in inner Melbourne are from passenger doors, so I don't think we need to have a disparity between the penalties.
And is it a problem nationwide? Obviously, cycling is very popular in Melbourne, but do you think that there's enough of a deterrent nationwide?
The problem is worst where you have lots of new riders, and Melbourne is the place in Australia where we have massive numbers of people now commuting to work, so that's where the problem is. And you know that 30% of all Melbourne doorings are only on 4 streets, and 50% of Melbourne doorings are on 10 streets, so it's just a few really busy streets where the problem is, and it'll be the same in every capital.
Are you worried that by increasing penalties, it might be sending a message that it's always the motorist's fault?
Well, it is always the motorist's fault. The law makes no allowances for drivers in this case. If you open a door into the path of a rider, it's always your fault.
And forgive the pun, but is the government's door open on this one? Are you getting good feedback?
Look, I think that with the inquest into the death of James Cross last year, that's opened a lot of eyes, there's a lot more awareness, and I really sincerely hope that the government is going to move on this issue.
Well, Gary Brennan from Bicycle Network Victoria, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And as you can see, there's a lot of cyclists on the way to work who would be interested to see what happens with this, and surely nationwide as the popularity of cycling as a way to get to work increases. Back to you, Michael and Karina.
Thank you, Simon. Now, just to even the ledger up a tiny wincy bit, did I hear him say it's always the motorist's fault?
Yes.
Or is my hearing failing me?
No, we both heard that, and I would say that you probably need to take that comment with a little bit of caution, because it's not always.
A sackload of salt, not just a grain of salt, because, without pillaring cyclists at all, we love you cyclists, we love you motorists, we love everybody who watches us on ABC News Breakfast, but I have seen, and we've all seen, our fair share of reckless cyclists as well, so I think it's very unfair to purely blame motorists 100% of the time for that sort of thing.
And more education and more awareness on both sides.
Exactly.
Is what's needed.
Good. We're in agreement.